Hey guys, so it's me, Tony Lindsay, and I just wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about AMC stock today because what I've been looking at has been a clear pattern of stock manipulation in order to pretty much scare retail investors um, into jumping ship into selling their shares. Now, I don't know how many of you guys like kind of watch things as they take place. How many of you guys are day trading or swing trading or really paying attention to that particular stock during the day? But I'm wondering, did anybody see what happened at 11:46 a.m. this morning? It was about 11:46, 11:47. The stock took a huge dip. It dropped by almost $1 in like a matter of like 1 second or like a second and a half. And to me, that's one of the clearest indicators of stock manipulation. That's what I've been talking about um, with you guys for a while. Um, I haven't been able to do any videos because if you kind of if you hear, you can hear that that I'm talking a little funny because I just recently had oral surgery to a bridge right at the like in my at the front part of my teeth. So it's a little swollen. So I'm I might sound a little funny, but just bear with me. So anyway, now to talk about what's happening with AMC, right? We all understand that the stock has been under like massive like short laddering attacks from from hedge funds, short sellers. You're seeing a lot of FUD going around. FUD meaning fear, uncertainty, and doubt. That's being basically it's being spread by the mainstream media. Like a lot of these outlets you see, like Benzinga, Motley Fool. Um, uh, all of them pretty much. Like a lot of these articles that you see on your brokerage apps, you're always going to see nothing but like doom and gloom, a whole bunch of like negative coverage of AMC no matter what happens with the stock. So the unfortunate thing is that most of the news or most of the information that you want to get on AMC stock, you're going to really have to kind of excuse me, you're going to have to kind of look for it online or with like independent media, YouTubers, like certain people, like you got people like Trades. He's someone he's like the king of this right now. Like this is the guy that will give you all the technical analysis you need and the full breakdown. You also have what's this guy's name? Zip Trader guy. I think his name is Charlie. And there are a few good people on here that really know what they're talking about, and they give a really good breakdown on what's going on with the stock. Now, for a lot of you guys that have been putting money in AMC, I know some of you have been getting into options trading. I trade a lot in options, and I do pretty well with options. But what I'm seeing is a lot of people who are kind of looking at the AMC short squeeze, the potential squeeze, as like a get rich quick type of thing. And when you approach it from that perspective, it leads you to make hasty and reckless decisions. And I want people to really be careful um, about how you play this. Like, now listen, I'm not a financial expert or giving like stock advice or anything like that. Just take whatever I say with a grain of salt, right? But what you need to understand is that the short interest, like there are so many shares that are outstanding right now that need to be covered by short sellers. The short sellers, they borrowed a massive amount of shares. They borrowed so many shares. They borrowed more shares of AMC stock than exist, right? And they borrowed it, but they have to cover it. So basically, I mean, without going into the whole breakdown, every single video of what a short seller is and how that process works, maybe some of you guys can just kind of research what short sellers are. But the point I'm trying to make is that short sellers are nothing more than guaranteed buyers of stock. They are guaranteed buyers. So I know while we're sitting here and we're looking at the price go down day after day after day, some of you guys are like panicking, especially those of you who kind of bought in um, while it was surging. Right, some of you guys, you kind of caught the wave a little late, and you were just like, "Oh man, let me buy it." And you bought it at like $50 something. Some of you bought it at 60, right? So then you're in the position now. So you're looking at it like you're losing money. And I just want to make something clear to you guys. Always understand, whenever you're trading in the stock market, you don't lose money until you sell. Just as you don't make money until you sell. So there's no profit or loss until you sell your security. So that's something that you guys got to understand. So that kind of goes into the concept of holding, which is what you saw with GameStop when you first saw that massive squeeze and a bunch of other squeezes, right? If you buy a certain stock for a certain amount of money and you believe that that stock is worth more than you've paid for it, why would you sell that stock at a lesser price, right? And if you just look at the overall trend, the overall pattern, the overall movement, the trajectory of the stock market, you'll see that it's pretty much on an upward climb. So it's basically a matter of patience, and it's also a matter of when you put money into the stock market. I always tell people, listen, don't put money in that you're not prepared to lose. Also, it's better for you to use disposable income. Don't use money that you need right now, because when you do that, you're under pressure. You're like, oh my God, this is my rent money. I need this, I need that. So I always tell people, like, especially if you're gonna be getting involved with high risk trades like AMC and a lot of the quote unquote meme stocks that you see, don't use money that you need. You understand what I'm saying? Because what these hedge funds are counting on is that you really need this money. And so the more they manipulate this stock and make it look like the price is tanking, the more prone you are to jump ship and give them your money, because that's basically what you're doing. You're buying it high and you're selling it to them at a much cheaper price. So you're just handing over your money. That's like you work for the month and then you take your paycheck and you're like, here, take it. It doesn't make sense, does it? So and I know a lot of people, they're like, oh, the train has left the station with AMC, but you cannot deny the facts. You cannot deny technical analysis. You cannot deny the fact that um, these shorts just have not covered. They have not covered. We cannot deny the failure to deliver. We cannot deny the new policies that were passed by the NSCC, the DTCC. We cannot deny the high frequency trading and the short laddering that we're seeing of AMC stock. We cannot deny the massive FUD that is being spread about AMC. There's a reason for all of this. If AMC was such a wash, you wouldn't see so much attention being dedicated to this company by these mainstream media articles, by Kramer. You're not going to see all of this. We have to understand that even though there are so many huge wealthy entities, institutions that have the advantage, that are against us, when it comes to AMC stock, the apes have the advantage. And why is that? Because the apes own the overwhelming majority of the float. Apes own up almost, it's probably somewhere around 90%, but I don't want to quote it. But last I checked, it was somewhere around 85% of the float. Now, the float meaning the overall outstanding shares that exist for AMC. So if there are 5 million shares for AMC, apes own something like 450 million of them. You get what I'm saying? But just don't quote me. But I'm just saying that the massive, like the overwhelming majority of shares in AMC stock are owned by retail investors. And that means a lot. Why does that mean so much? Because the more stock you buy in this company, the less stock become available for hedge funds and short sellers to manipulate. So now I was talking about options trading earlier, and I get it. I know how some people, you love the options because with options, you can make huge gains in a very short period of time. That's why I like playing options. But remember, just as you can make huge gains, you can also uh, take on huge losses. So here's my, well, okay, I don't want to say here's my suggestion, but this is what I've been doing. Now, I believe in AMC. AMC is the largest theater chain in the world. They're even acquiring more movie theaters. I think they made very smart decisions with the with the financing, with paying off certain loans, with getting themselves out of the hole due to the pandemic. The revenue is started, like people are starting to pack up the movie theaters again. So I believe in this company. Even when I did my movie premiere, it was with AMC. AMC is not going anywhere, and I believe in that company. So personally, to know that there are these hedge funds that short sell, that they have such a vested interest in destroying certain companies, that's not something that I can respect or support. So, you know, short selling can be a good thing because in some argue that it maintains a balance in the market. Some say that it pretty much exposes a lot of, let's say, fraudulent companies that are doing a lot of certain things. And then, you know also, if sometimes, the stock price gets inflated, there are ways. I mean, so it's not a bad thing to short sell, right? But when you short sell, you're selling with the anticipation of the stock price going down. So whenever you take a short position, you're doing that because you're doing it because you believe the value of a stock is going to go down, because you believe is something may be overvalued, and you're riding the correction. You're making money from the correction. But it's another thing when you short sell for the purpose of driving a stock price down. Now, in my book, that's clear manipulation. When you write a bunch of hit pieces about companies in order to drive the stock price down so you can make loads of money. And you have companies like Hindenburg that do things like that. They're notorious for that. You know, so it's it's a really unethical practice. It has become a highly unethical practice. And it's like there's so much collusion. People can argue and say, oh, it's a conspiracy. No, it's not. I mean, between the dark pool trading that we're seeing, and I don't know if you guys know about dark pool trading, but I think I broke it down in like another video that I did. I had posted on my YouTube. But what when you're a short seller, you know that you make money as the value of the stock price goes down. So whatever you can do to impact the sentiment towards that stock, if you can get people scared or get people to lose their confidence in that stock, you're going to make money, right? And I did a really good breakdown of what short selling is in one of my videos, so I'm probably going to post it. Like I'll put a link to it. Yeah, under this, I'll put a link to that video in the comment section so you guys can check it out. So here's another thing that they're doing with the dark pool trading. Dark pool trading was basically set up so that large institutions, people who make huge, massive transactions in the stock market, it's set up for those. I'm talking about like 1 million shares and this, that, and those dark pool trading was set up so that institutions can trade massive amounts of stock without adversely impacting the market. Because when you see certain massive uh, uh, buys or sells, it can really affect the sentiment that's out there. Now, institutions usually broker in really, um, large transactions, massive transactions that are very different from retail investors. So you can imagine that if someone was to buy like 2 million or 200 million, well, not two, but let's say 2-3 million shares, um uh at a certain price, and people are like, oh my god, what's going on? It can just send the market into like a free fall. It can tank. It can it can uh make people, it can actually make it surge ridiculously. It can cause it can just really mess things up if those massive transactions get mixed in with the regular guy. Put it like that, because it has a way of kind of flooding the overall sentiment. It floods the exposure of what's happening. It makes things look different than what they are. Because if 1,000 of us are buying a stock at $10, and that's a pretty good price for today, and then some big whale comes in and is like, oh, I'm buying 1 million of them for uh, maybe there's 1 million people out there who happen to be selling it for $8 or something, right? They were asking $8, and then I bought 1 million one shot. Boom! Everybody looks at that and they're like, "Oh my God, something's happening!" And everyone gets scared. They panic, and they can end up just tanking the whole stock. So dark pool trading is set up for companies to make huge, massive transactions in secret so that it does not impact the market in a negative way. That's basically what dark pool trading is. But what's been happening is you've been we've been seeing, and you just got to look at the numbers. You're seeing massive buys in the dark pool. They're buying a lot of stock in the dark pool. Now, when you see a lot of people buying, what will that do for the overall sentiment towards the stock? If you see a lot of people buying, the stock price is going to go up, right? Because everybody's going to come flooding in. So what they're doing is they're buying a lot of stock, a lot of AMC shares in the dark pool. But then what are they doing? They're taking those same stocks and they're selling them in the market. So it gives the impression. So you don't see all of those purchases of the stock. But what do you see? You see a huge flood, a huge wave of shares being offered into the market for sale. So that gives you a bearish sentiment that will now tell people, oh my God, what's going on? Everyone is selling, even though everyone isn't selling. You get what I'm saying? These institutions, they bought a shitload of stock in secret. So you don't even know that, it's not affecting the inflow. It's not affecting the inflow. But what you're going to see, they're going to contribute to the outflow in order to manipulate the appearance of what's happening. So you're going to be seeing nothing but selling going on, which is going to make you panic and make you want to sell your AMC shares. Now, if AMC was such a bust and it was such a lost cause, I wonder, why are these multi-billion-dollar hedge funds investing so much money, time, and energy into trying to drive the value of AMC shares down? I'll tell you why. Because they borrowed more shares than exist through naked shorting. They sold those shares, and they have to return those shares to the brokers, to where they borrowed it from. So they borrowed, let's say they borrowed 1,000 shares from me at 100, and they sold it at $10 each, right? They borrowed 1,000 shares and they sold it at $10 each. That means they made $10,000 off of my shares. But guess what? They got to give me my money back. Well, they have to give me my shares back. Now, what happens when the value of those shares go from $10 to $5, right? They sold it for 10. So they made they sold it for $10,000. They have to give me back my shares. So they buy the shares back at the lower price of $5,000. $5,000. Now they've just made $5,000 off of me. They never bought any shares. They never owned any stock. They just borrowed my stock to make money off of it, but they still have to return it to me. So it's in their best interest to sell it high and then buy it back low, cheaper, so they can keep the difference. That's basically what short selling is in a nutshell. But what happens when now you understand why short sellers have such a huge uh, interest in convincing you that the stock is worthless, because they're going to sell it at max value, whatever the max value is in their eyes. But then they're going to do everything they can to convince everybody else, after they sold it for a lot of money, they're going to do everything to tell you, oh my God, this stock is terrible. Get out now while you can. And when the floodgates open and and everyone is stampeding out and selling it for $5, $4, $3, they can buy back those shares that they borrowed from me for pennies on the dollar, and they keep the difference. That's what short selling is. But now imagine what happens if these people who have been doing this manipulative practice for so long, they sold it for 10,000, right? They say they borrowed the same 1,000 shares. They sold it for $10,000, $10 per share. But now AMC is worth $40 a share. What does that mean? That means that they have to buy. Remember, first of all, you have an expiration date. Like, you have a date when you have to return those shares to me. And if not, you're going to have to put up money to cover the value that you're losing in that stock, so that I don't lose my money. So if I loaned you 1,000 shares and you sold it and it was worth $10, you sold it at $10, but now it's worth $30 or $40. How am I going to be assured that you're going to give me back my shares if it's worth 3 to 4 times more than it was when you borrowed it? Well, you're going to have to put up some collateral. You're going to have to put up some money to cover the outstanding difference in the value of that stock, just so I am sure that I'm going to get my money back. Because if it doesn't happen, I'm taking that bread. I'm taking that money. So at least I'm getting back the value of what it is that I loaned you. So these short sellers, they are fighting for dear life after manipulating these stocks for so long and getting so greedy to drive the value, the sentiment, everything down on AMC shares. They're using every tactic in the book to convince you that the stock is worthless. There is no short squeeze coming. They can wait it out. They can wait you out. But no, here's another thing. Every day that a stock is out on loan, there is a cost to borrow. Meaning, these guys are paying interest on this. They got to pay. Every day that goes by where they're not returning those AMC stock to where they borrowed it from, to the brokerages, every day that it's out, they're paying for that. And the more the value of the stock increases, the more they're in the hole. But they're so greedy and so stubborn that they don't want to buy back the stock. They don't want to admit defeat and say we got too greedy. No, they're going to do everything possible to try to wait you out, to try to trick you into selling the only thing that will save them. What is the only thing that will save them? All those stocks that you apes are holding. So when you see the value of AMC, you're watching the price dip, right? We're watching the price dip. We're like, what's going on then? If we're holding on the shares, why are we watching the price dip? Why is it going down? What's happening? Number one, look at the volume. You got to look at the trading volume for the day. The trading volume in AMC, when it was really like surging and going through the roof, we were looking at trading volumes anywhere from 600, what was it? It was from 600 million to close to like maybe almost a billion. That's what the volume was. It was going crazy, right? Then it slowed down to somewhere around, let's say, 400 million, then 300 million, but it was still moving real nice. But you started to see a steady decrease in the massive volume. Why? Because the apes were buying up all the shares and they were holding. So the majority of the shares are in our possession. There's still millions of shares out there. But those shares that are out there, a lot of them are owned by these hedge funds that what they're doing is they're taking these shares and they're selling it back and forth to each other at a very high rate. So I actually broke this down in another video too. They're short ladder in the stock. They're basically doing what's called algorithmic trading, where they use bots. And let's say the price is at the stock price is at $40, and no one's participating in the market, right? And just a side note, you can tell that no one's participating in the market when you see like the daily volume is somewhere like 80 million, 120 million, and no one's in there. That's the hedge funds and that's the short sellers in there manipulating the stock price because we're holding it. Now, how are they doing that? High frequency trading. High frequency trading is if, like, I'm a short seller and then my man over here is a short seller. We sold these, we borrowed the stock, we sold it high, but it's too expensive. We can't buy it back yet. We got to get that price down because we know like margin call is coming. We got to give them stocks back or we're going to have to pay up massively. So we're going to do everything to convince you to give up your shares so that we can buy it cheap. How do we do that? Well, I happen to own like 500,000 shares and my man owns another 500,000 shares. You know, we're big money. So you know what I'm going to do? Let's say my man's name is Chris. I'm going to say, no, Craig, I'm going to use my man Craig. Yo, Craig, listen, I'm going to sell you 1,000 shares. It's trading at $40 right now. I'm going to sell you 1,000 shares for $39.50. You sell it back to me for $39.40. I sell it back to you for $39.20. You sell it back to me for $38.90. And then I'll sell it back to you for $37.90. And we're doing this through bots. We're doing this at a huge rate of speed, at a very high frequency, a high rate of speed, which is why it's called high frequency trading. We're doing it with these massive amounts. We're doing it back and forth. And what it does is it makes it appear to the market that this amount of that we're all this convincing the market that there are a shitload of people in there selling their shares for cheaper. So it will artificially drive the stock price down because we're going back and forth and like, hey, yo, Craig, yo, listen, nobody's in here today. All right, they're being stubborn. That's cool. Listen, let's do this back and forth until we get the price down to like, you sell it to me at the end of the day. We'll sell it for like you sell it to me for like $33. Whew, man, we managed to pull the value of this stock down $7 for the day. Hooray, hooray, right? Well, not really, because they're not realizing that value is not realized until what happens. It doesn't get realized by them selling shares back and forth to each other, not changing their portfolio or anything. It only matters if you decide to believe what you're seeing and then you jump in and say, oh my God, it's good. Let me just join in and let me sell it to you for $35. Hey, hey, Craig, let me sell you mine for $34. Hey, Tony, let me sell you mine for $32. See, it starts the stampede. It starts that fear, uncertainty, and doubt in you. And then you get scared and you just rush and you just jump out and you're giving Craig and me your shares. You're giving me your money because you bought it for 40 and you just sold it to us for $33. Thank you. And now we have those shares at a cheaper price to return it to the brokerages where we borrowed it from. So the fact that AMC apes are holding and they're hodling, they're holding on for dear life, that is a testament to the resolve of this movement. And I believe in the movement. Why do I believe in the movement? But because for far too long, we've been taken advantage of, manipulated, and just shitted on by the 1%. And we're now in a moment where we are facing the potential for one of the largest transfers of wealth in history, but going in the right direction. Not from the 99% to the 1%, but from the 1% back to the 99%. So my resolve is strong. And I will say, for those of you who have been playing in the options game, it's a very risky business. I'll put it to you this way. If you really want to affect the short squeeze, you should be well, let me not even say what you should be doing, but the best way to affect a short squeeze of AMC stock, GameStop, any stock that has been overly shorted and heavily shorted and manipulated, the best way to affect a short squeeze is by buying the stock and holding it, buying it and not selling it until you get what you believe your stock is worth. So if you bought your AMC shares at $10 and you believe it's worth $500, why are you going to sell it until you can get $500 for it? So just imagine if everyone who owned pretty much the entire float had that same mindset, that same sentiment. Why should I buy something low and then sell it low? I'm going to buy low and I'm going to sell it high. And I'm going to hold on to it until I can get my price, until I get my price for it. Why is that? Because if you use disposable income, and this goes back to my original point, you can afford to wait it out. It's not hurting you. It's not doing anything to you. It doesn't cost you anything to hold on to your stock until you get what you want for it. But guess who it does cost to hold on to the stock? Who does it cost when you don't sell your stock? It doesn't cost you anything when you're not selling it. It only costs you when you sell it. You either make money or you lose money based on your decision on how much you decide to sell it for. But who does it cost when you decide that you're not moving and you're not holding? Somebody's paying for that. That's the hedge funds. They're paying for it. So keep that in mind when you see the stock price going down. Now, when I see this, the stock price of AMC going down, I don't panic. I don't get scared. Honestly, I don't give a shit if it goes down to $15. You know why? Because I'm going to buy more. I'm going to buy the dip. Yeah. And we've seen it happen twice already within the past week. You know, they got a little aggressive with the short laddering, and I think it was a couple days ago. It dipped down to like 38, 39. And whereas you thought most people would panic and get out, what happened? Hell no. They looked at that and they were like, oh shit, fire sale. And everybody flooded in. They packed in and they bought it. You bought the dip. Now that allowed a lot of people to average down their cost and get a new way in. But so for me, what's the overall premise, guys, in the stock market? Buy low, sell high. So if I'm watching AMC dip, what do you think I'm going to do? Run and sell it? I think that's the biggest mistake people make. It's the biggest novice mistake that a lot of people make in the stock market. When they see the value, I mean, short of a company not being likely to completely tank and just go bankrupt and out of existence, even some bankrupted companies, you're still good holding your money. Look at what happened with Hertz. I guess nobody was paying attention to that because Hertz is back up to like $9 and change. Hertz was down as low as like 30 cents at one point during the pandemic. So what I'm saying, guys, is you have to be patient if you're going to be in this. If you call yourself an ape, and if you're serious about making some real money from a short squeeze, me, I'm going to buy stock. Options are good. They're cool if you know what you're doing. But options have a very unique way of yanking all of the confidence from a person. It has a way of deflating your energy when you take on losses. So I would say that you have to be really careful when trading options. When options trading, it's not for the faint of heart because it can really suck the energy out of you. Now, I would say if you're an options trader, that's cool. But I don't believe in trading options without actually having ownership of the security. I believe you must own stock because the stock, remember, that's still, I look at stock as like a savings account. Like with options, you can lose everything because options have an expiration date. Stock do not. And the more stock in AMC and any other security you own, the more impact you have to that company because you have part ownership of the company. Trading options in AMC, that doesn't make you an ape, and that doesn't make you a part owner of AMC. You have to own the stock. So uh, I believe in increasing the holdings of my AMC shares because I've seen massive, massive, massive gains since January, and I expect to see a whole lot more. So even if I was to walk out right now, I'm good. Now I'm a little different than some of my other investor friends because I do believe in taking earnings from time to time, so that it will never be a loss for me. Now I've taken more than enough earnings during this ride with the options that it will not hurt me in the least to wait this out. So I can tell you what I told a couple of friends of mine who just recently got involved in the options trading game. While we were seeing this stock manipulation, we were seeing the share price dip of AMC. It was pretty predictable what direction the stock was going in, right? So what did I do? I loaded up on a couple of put options. Did I sell my stock? No, I did not. But in order to kind of mitigate some of the damage, I said, well, why don't I make a little bit of money on the way down? So I grabbed a couple of put options and I made some money to give me more liquid as the value of the stock was going down. So as I'm making that money, guess what happened? I made money that I could even buy more shares. So nothing is coming out my pocket. So I was making money as the share price was tanking. So, you know, I suggest, you guys really do your research and learn about options trading because it is valuable. But options doesn't only come in the form of call options. It comes in the form of put options. There are different techniques that you can use with options trading. I mean, you can straddle. There are ways of making money just from a stock trading sideways. So there's so many things that you can do in the stock market to make money either off of the volatility, or you can just make money when the stock is just sitting right where it is. So I don't know. Maybe I might create some type of I don't know, like a stock market options training class, something. I don't know, but I just want to see all you guys win. You know, if you know anything about me, you know that I have no love for these institutions and the 1%. And I just know we know that They are not here for our best interest. And we have been losing so much money. We have been handing so much money to them. I mean, with the bailout, that first bailout they did during the pandemic, they gave these companies $6 trillion. Like, and they were offering us checks for what, like $600? Listen, we gotta. It's time. If there's ever a time for the little guy to stand up and just believe in something, carry, like follow through on something. I believe that AMC is just one of those things. And I also, it's very dangerous though to put emotion into what you're doing. We have to still be smart. So while I understand there's a lot of passion with the AMC 8 movement, you got to understand there's still a lot of risk, and you still have to use a lot of discernment, common sense, and research. So always trade wisely. Like I always say that, trade wisely, be smart, ask questions, and don't be hasty. But I don't know what you guys are going to do, but I'm going to hold, and I'm also going to buy the dip. So if you guys got any questions, you could always hit me up, hit me in the inbox, or you can join my stock market group. We have a nice little stock market group where we talk about stuff. I haven't been that active in there lately, but we're going to get it popping again. So peace out, guys. Love you. And catch you on the flip side. AMC strong. Peace.